Hello friends, it's been a minute since I've had my journals out and we've talked about my system, and I think that's what I'm gonna do today. Just a recap of how everything's working, because I looked back on my video of my last system update and my last what was going on, and I've made so many micro adjustments. Like, all the books are the same and I always write about the same things, but there's been some tiny micro adjustments within the system to where I feel like I cannot talk about the system itself if I don't just rehash it completely. And this isn't to say that I'm upset that I have to rehash it or I didn't expect this to happen. I'm a travel journaler person because I like the flexibility. I like being able to get a $10 book and completely switch everything up. So I know I'm somebody who likes to tweak things here and there. So that's actually why I'm so much of a traveler journal human. But rather than starting here, I think we're gonna start here. This is a hobonichi A6 techo, and within it I do like a nightly journaling, dear diary, memory keeping type of thing. The point of this book really is just having something that I come to at the end of every day. It's not so much it has a purpose so much as it has a time. This is the only thing that I make sure I stay consistent in. If I start my day, end my day, there is a date where this gets touched. If that means I need to rant, then I rant. If I want to talk about what happened in my day, then I talk about what happened in my day. If I just want to throw a meme or a photo, then that's what I do as well. It really just comes down to what I need, what I want, what I'm interested in, how I'm feeling. It's so deeply just coming in and allowing myself what I need. Like, not to sound so horribly precious about this book, but it truly is that. If I need to scream, then I'm screaming. But this is a nightly type of guy for me, and it has gone through a little bit of evolution. In the beginning of the techo, you have this like month at a glance. You get, I think, about a year and a half of this. And I use it as an index. So whatever I'm talking about that day of, I just put like 3 words just saying what I'm talking about. So this is kind of like a calendex of what I'm journaling about throughout that month. And this currently is fully caught up. Now, when it comes to the red ink, there's nothing special about it. I just really wanted to use red ink, but on the book itself, you can kind of tell that I was experimenting with having this nightly book, because at first I started off being so creative with it. I doodled, I put random things in, I would put little blurbs in. I still had minimal stickering, and then I would put like what media I was doing, but it was primarily just I wanted something creative, and you'll see that in my dailies as well. This month was the same. I did media, my favorite snacks, what I'm eating, any miscellaneous things, any songs that I was listening to, the coffee shop that I was frequenting the most. It truly just acted as like a glance, but then I started switching it up as my dailies switched up, and you'll see again later in here how that switch up kind of happened, and it really just became more structured is what I would say. I have the Venus moved into Aries. I have my baby's birthday in there. My son turned 6, and by my son I mean my dog Tchai. He turned 6, so of course I put that down. I marked the full moon, I marked my friends' birthdays, and then again mineral stickering, mineral taping. Not something that I'm spending a lot of time in, and I often come and do this around the middle and end of the month just to kind of give it a vibe. Then I started putting my mood tracker in this book, the amount of books read, minimal stickering, And then, I don't know, just like small little bits. I have more stickers in this than I do the other ones, but it's just like I doodled a little bit less. Nothing against doodling. I've recently gotten a sketchbook, so I really try to like tailor my creativity into that. So I've become more of a sticker person. And then this is what I've set up for the current month, April. I haven't filled it out. Again, I kind of decorated. I just wanted to play with stickers, so I did a little bit in here. And I will go back as the month progresses a bit more and fill it in a bit more. I don't decorate too many of these. I just, if I have some tape, maybe. I had a friend, I bought some washi tape for a friend that I thought they would love, and I took a few pieces for myself, so that's all that is. It's not necessarily decorating in advance, but I had some tape I wanted to use. Call me a bad friend. I don't care. I'm so sorry. I thought it was cute, so I threw some in myself. Now, getting to the actual dailies of it all, I'm not going to show you too many from January because I was fighting for my life. I just was having the absolute worst time. So I'm not going to show you all the crying and screaming, but I will show you a little bit so you can see how the transition happened. This day I was just talking about like my TBR and what I'm thinking about filming. I was fighting for my life through my taxes, so I was like saying that, like, oh my goodness, F my taxes, just send me to jail. Like, that's what I was journaling about on those days. And then at the beginning of the month is the reflecting on the month, but I fill this out at the end of the month. So like this is February's reflection. This page stays blank until the end of February. Writing a little bit of gratitude. I read a really amazing book, so I put a little book review in there. Yeah, this was just, it started off so chaotic, and at the time that's what I needed. But then I kind of fell off of it, and I just wrote like journal slump. My journals aren't working for me. Should I switch up my system? And then this note was really just to go into the fact that I needed a system update. So I really just kind of dumped out what I was needing, what wasn't working, what I think needed to happen, and that's what's happening on this page. And then that's when it completely switched up. Now I have a few things happening currently in this month. Again, it's gonna go through another evolution. But I put my mental health habits at the top, and what are you gonna see? I almost never accomplish them because I'm in the trenches. So this is very much a in the trenches type of look. And I found that while I was struggling mentally, what I really wanted was structure. I needed control over something. So my system really evolved to want that structure, want that control, want just things to feel like, I don't know, like I just was fighting for my life. And when I was fighting for my life, I didn't want the book that I go to every night to feel that way. So the way that I went about this was, rather than specifically writing what I did in a day, I made a checklist on the side. So this wasn't me planning. This was just how I went about marking off what happened in my day. This was very much a replacement of memory keeping. And then in this tiny little section, I would do a quick blurb, quick thought. This one was obviously a rant. And that's how that kept up for a while. I kept up with the not really reaching my mental health things. Oh, the mental health habits, by the way, are literally drink water, journal, move my body, get off of my phone, and then read a book. So it is a bit shameful that I am truly not accomplishing these things, but do the best we can. Just fighting. We're fighting the good fight. The stickers don't really have much to do with the day. They're really just there for cuteness and aesthetics of it all. I was going through a bit of a Cane's addiction. Mind your business. There was no reason that Cane's sauce should be as good as it is. I would like to argue their fries, not that good. Their chicken, average. But the sauce, I'm a sauce girl. But yeah, I was going through a Cane's thing. We don't need to talk about it. When I buy books from my bookstore, I put in the little tag just to mark what I bought, what they were, keeping up with what I'm reading a lot of the time on the sides here. I make cute borders for when I'm having a bad time. I like the bad days to look cute. Oh, and then here's that March reflection. So that's the end of February. Went into this March reflection, of course, was done at the end of March, but as you're seeing it, it looks like the first page of March. This was just a full-blown rant and scream, so I just needed that whole page just to scream for that day. LOL, a friendship ending. Oh. I have recently just been in such the depths with like grieving the loss of a family member and friendships not being there for me in the way that I was there for them through a lot of things. And that's what this cute little bunny is representing. Just a scream into the void of just not having the best time these few months. My goodness, I was having such a horrible time. Truly the trenches. I put some photos here. Nothing really happened. Didn't know what was going on. I just thought a meme would be cuter. The top one says, when I'm reading at my desk at work and my boss asks what kind of book I have. And I say, it's like a murder mystery, but the only thing getting murdered is that kitty, and the only mystery is when he's gonna go from an enemy to a lover. I just thought it was funny. I'm sick of being sad. That's all that one was. More crying, more screaming. I truthfully am just working through heavy emotions, and sometimes a heavy emotion is a little face. But that's what these look like. Again, if I have a lot to say and I have something sitting heavy on my mind, I make it look cute. And I got some new stickers this day. So this came from the packaging. There's that washi tape that I sampled. I sampled it. I got something. I didn't really have much to write that day, but I got a package in, something that I had been saving up money for. I wanted a cute kettle for my little drink station, so I was just excited about that. Not much else was happening. This day I just had a bunch of small thoughts that I kind of crammed into one. And then here's the current month, April. Now, one thing you're gonna notice, I missed my black ink. I don't know what it was. Red was everything I wanted for these times. And like, I love flipping through it. I love how bright it is, but something about how I'm feeling currently is I just really wanted my black ink back. And I've also gotten rid of the mental health tasks at the top because it was getting like depressing to have to see that I was just never accomplishing my tiny little tasks. So I just completely gave up on having those at the top. And then that's today. I do keep my pencil board in here. I use it as a straight edge, but otherwise I don't use it for much else. Sometimes if I have like stickers that I can feel through when I'm writing, I'll just lay it down just so I have a flatter surface within the book. But I'm excited to let myself switch it up and change. I think a singular book isn't something I usually lean on, but in the event that this is my little daily guide, I think the fact of it being allowing the changes, allowing the slight differences to just show up feels really fun. I have a tiny little sheet of stickers here. They're little dog stickers, but otherwise that's it. It's a very simple book on my end. Very low stakes. There's nothing that I'm really hoping to accomplish. The only goal is to open it up every day. That's the only goal. And whatever I want to put down in that day is what I put down in that day. Now, the book that is the most exciting on my channel, let's put you over here, is this one. And this is my traveler's notebook. The light of my life. Let's move all the stuff, actually. We'll get to that in a second, but the light of my life, my traveler's journal, my everything, my little brain, my tactile brain. It's truly the backbone of this entire system. And this is where I say that I have some micro adjustments that have come along. Now, first I have this cute little penco little guy. And this is truthfully, I put a grocery list in here. It's just gonna be like my scratch paper when I need it. Other than that, I don't see myself reaching for it like too much. It just sits on the front. Nothing too deep. I just sometimes find that I want to be able to grab something quickly. So I put this on the front for that purpose. This is a penco clamp. I use this just to hold open journals when I write. It's just holds it flat when I'm working through things, or if I'm laying out a spread. It's truly just there for that reason. This is one of my favorite pens. I love this pen so much. Oh, I didn't even talk about my other pen. This guy is a Twisbi Eco, and it's in extra fine, I believe, and it's filled with Diatramentis Archive Black. It's a deep black, but it's not too deep. I don't know how to explain it. It's not gray. It's just not a deep inky black. Love this black. Then I have the, this is a Zebra Sarasa, and it's in a point, I believe this is 0.5. Now this is black. This is the deepest black I have. This is less black, but I love this pen. Love this pen. If you see black in most places, it's this. I do love this though because it makes my handwriting look prettier than it actually is. Well, I do have pretty handwriting, but like I feel like this just adds that oomph. But those are the two pens that I frequent. Okay, so the book itself, the cover is a Crazy Horse Brown from Galen Leather. I will link everything down below. It's not as expensive as a Louis Carmen, and I do believe that my cover was a step cheaper than a traditional Traveler's. It's by no means the cheapest thing on this earth, but I think a traditional Traveler's goes for about like, I think they go for about 60-ish. Mine was 40, I believe, with all the bits and bobs. So that's what I have. Then inside I have one of the clear covers. I have some things thrown in there that I might glue down one day. There's no rhyme or reason because I have a lot of printouts and cutouts just kind of strewn about my desk. So these by no means are the only things or like my favorite things to put down. There's no reason that these are the things that I've kept inside the Travelers, but it's nice to have this clear cover because it sort of acts as a protector to the rest of the journals. This is just a brown folder. I don't keep much in here. I have some spare notes stickies that I have hidden in here. I've got my Traveler's pencil board in here. I use this for the lines. I have a few books that require I look through and I need a line focus, so that's what this is. A punch card to my local stationery shop. That's alarming. And then then, okay, so the first book is one of those micro changes, and this is a change that came about a week ago. And so I'm a Hobonichi Weeks lover. It's just that this system is so set up for me to have everything I need. And with that, it just kind of hit a point where it started to feel odd that I was grabbing this book, grabbing this book, grabbing this book, when I specifically had a system set up for me to grab one thing and not forget something or lose something, because I have lost my YouTube journal and I've lost one other journal this year, and I cannot deal with it anymore. Versus if I just have one thing I grab, I no longer have to worry about the fact that I am forgetful. I'm forgetful. So that's what this was. And this is my life planner. I separate my work and life. This is the Weeks Plus memo. In the front, I put appointments and events and things that I need to remember. I just started this, so this does look a bit empty. Then in the weeks themselves, this is how I plan. I don't know if I've shown you planners, but I do the Alistair method, where I just kind of have my running task list and then I just mark off when they get done in the week. The reason for this column is sometimes looking down this, it's a little difficult to figure out what actually got done. So I can just go through here and just see what wasn't completed, what I need to do in the next week. That's what that is. I've got my mood tracker right here. And then I have my habits up here. On the left are just like day small tasks. This is just like the task list that I dump out at the beginning or end of the week. And then throughout here, I might throw like what I got at the grocery store, the meal planning that I had to do, or like what other small events had to get done, when rent needs to get paid. So those are all like the day specific. And then this is just a general running task list. That was last week. And then this is what I set up for this week. Again, running task list, moods, habits. I switch up the habits if I need. I have a little notes at the bottom. I put down what specifically is happening. I actually just reserved a spot to see Grady Hendrix is coming to a local bookstore, but I'm on the wait list, so fingers crossed I can go meet one, like not like meet, but like sit in an audience and hear Grady Hendrix speak. Haven't read any of his books, so I'm a fake fan, but I just thought it would be interesting to go see him. But otherwise, that's it. Like I said, this is new, but it's nice to just have one book that I go for. I do keep it it's not really connected past this little paper clip. So I take it out when I need, I throw it in when I need. It's a dream. I've only had it for 2 weeks, but I'm loving that this exists in my main book. Then after that, this is a traveler's notebook clip. I use this one to once again hold my book in. I do often take this one out when I'm writing. So the ones that I take out a lot, I've just kind of clipped them in and just hold them in precariously into the book. Now, this is the book. It's not a daily book, but it is probably a book that I spend a lot of time in. And that's like a commonplace-ish. It's not quite traditional commonplace, but it's also not another type of journal. I've seen this dot system floating around on Pinterest, and then I also saw a video about an archaeologist and how archaeologists set up their journals and their notebooks and how they take notes. And the archaeologists often use a dot system. So that's where I got it from. And after seeing it in that archaeologist video, I've seen it around JournalTube. And it's really cool seeing it used in such a practical manner and then just used in like the funsies talk trash kind of way. But my specific dots, these are from Stalogy. They're washi dots. And I have a dot for nonfiction. This is when I just copy out anything from a specific nonfiction source. periodicals, anything from magazines, published journals, newspapers, blogs, Substacks. Dot for fiction and poetry. Then brown is just other forms of media, be it podcasts, music, movies, YouTube videos. This is kind of like the miscellaneous dot. Green is just incessant stream of internal monologue, my frantic rambling. And then blue is used for screaming. What just felt like sometimes I come to my journal specifically to scream, and I got a dot for it. And I wish I could tell you I didn't use that dot that often, but that would be a lie. But this is what I come to. This is my average journaling. I have poems in here. I read a lot of articles. That's one thing that I really needed. I see a lot of quotes on Tumblr that I love. And then the photos I put in here oftentimes don't have anything to do with anything outside of I thought they were fun and I thought they were cute. Another article. Stickers for just cutesy purposes. I've been really into floral photography lately, so I've been looking up different photographers, and in this section I used a brown dot to mark other forms of media, but then in the margin I used a periodical dot because I found a newspaper article on the artist herself. Screaming. Just screaming. A page and some of screaming. And then, like, my favorite book quote goes in after that. Something from Tumblr. Me talking to myself. An article on how farming is becoming obsolete. Screaming. I covered up that blue dot though because seeing two blue dots so close together, it's like, are you good? This is a quote from Greek Love that I really loved. Talking to myself. This one hasn't been tagged, but I was just having a good day. Me referencing a text. Yes, I believe text should involve a process of literary analysis. I do. Me decorating my apartment. I got like some shelves. I was thinking about buying some shelves. Talking to myself, more quotes. This is from a Substack. I really had a lot on my chest this day. More getting stuff off of my chest. Then this is a quote that I found that I didn't say where I got it from. So this is just something I've sourced. But then this is a quote from a book that I was reading. I've recently been really interested in like the architecture around churches, and I love the look of a church that's been taken over by nature. I don't know what it is about that visual, but I've been super into it. This is just an article on like how churches evolve on a sociological standpoint and how they will pop up, how they will disappear. That's what that article is. And then this article was on the effects of fascism on literature. And then this is just me putting down a cute photo so that I can do more. But that is the commonplace. I will be quiet and just flip through it for a second just so you can just see the pages without my fingers in the way. The book after that we're gonna go through last because it pertains to something else. So just ignore this guy for a second. But lastly, I have my book journal. This hasn't changed other than I've added more to it. I am behind though. Like there are some books that I need to add to my worst pages, and I'm missing a book to add to my favorites pages of this half of the year. This is going perfectly. This is such an amazing addition. I love how this works for me. I love how it looks. Something about having it marked down and seeing like what weeks I'm reading a lot of. I messed up. I accidentally glued something down that didn't need to be glued down, so I put a sticker on top of it. Oops. Just oops. But no, it feels great. I do mess up sometimes, like Reformatory, I grabbed and I was gonna start reading this weekend, so I just glued it in because I was hanging out with my books, and then I had to return it to the library and put it back on hold. So I never got to it, but that's okay. Like, who's gonna like fact check me? I didn't read a singular book this week. I DNF'd one book, so that's gonna stay empty. That's about all that I have in there. This does hold 6 months, and I already do have the second book on standby. I just love it. This works perfectly for me. Now, this book, I've got a question about how I go about like note-taking, my idea videos, just how that looks for me and like what that system kind of looks like. So I figured I would just kind of rant and ramble about like how ideas come to me, how thoughts come to me, and then what do I do from there. And I'll include some thoughts about annotating and how I go about that. But this guy, it's a cream traveler's insert, the best paper. The Midori cream paper is so good. But this is what I said where I use my pencil board so I can write straight on this. But this is a scratch notes book. This is the second one I've gone through. I didn't keep the old one. It's not intended to be kept. And I'm sorry, I got rid of it without first showing you, but it basically just looks like this. It just holds the things that are bouncing around in my brain that I need to see visually. This is a workout split. These are herbs that I want to add to my little growing apothecary. And then when I finish a book, if I have a lot of thoughts on it or I'm doing a video that involves that book, I quickly jot down things that are happening. I quickly jot down what I'm thinking as I'm going through it, just so I have my in the moment thoughts. And then when it comes to video ideas, I have an idea that I've been bouncing around. Spoilers, I guess. And I start off just brainstorming. This is just brainstorming and getting my thoughts out, how I feel about an idea, something that's been bothering me or if I've been sitting with, and that's just how it begins. This is a video that may not come out for a month or 2 months, but it always begins with me just putting down how I feel, and then I'll go from there by looking up articles that deal with each thing. But this is just my scratchbook. This one's empty. Like I said, this is my newest one. And then here I just had to remind myself of when I said I would do certain booktube thoughts. So that's what's happening there. But this is an idea book, which then transitions into this book. Now, that's all that I have of my travelers. We're gonna miss you. Let's just... It is an absolute Rubik's Cube to get everything back together on this. And something about it just adds like fun for me. All the trinkets that exist on it and how it comes together in the end is just, I don't know, it's a vibe. Okay, that's that. This is the book that you see me reference all the time. if you see me looking down during a YouTube video or you see me flipping pages during a YouTube video, it's gonna be this guy. I used to have an orange one. He's lost. He's gone. But I did backfill this one so that I had those old notes. And I can fill out these types of notes because of my scratchbook. He's the reason that I'm able to go back and do this. This is a sticky note. I keep sticky notes around whenever I have an idea, something that's bothering me, something I'm interested in, something I want to talk about. So there's 10 things that have like popped up in my head that may come about, may not come about. I may not feel as strongly about it later, but I always keep sticky notes around of ideas. And usually they're things that I call a friend because I want to rant about. Then I'm like, let me keep that. Now, when it comes to the videos themselves, I can show you how I annotate, I can show you what's happening, but when it comes to how I take notes, I still stick with a margin system, and I take very specific notes on the right. I do use these like clear sticky notes to write on top for certain things because it's like I annotate myself almost. So I take notes based off of articles or background things that I find, and then I go back and add sticky notes to it. On the left in this margin, I'm usually writing out my feelings, my thoughts, something that isn't referenced, something that I didn't get from a source. That's what this is. And that just keeps me organized because I don't like to forget that I have something to say. Now, here's normal people. If you watched my Sally Rooney video, I went into every book and I actually annotated that book so I can compare like how I took notes and you can see how I actually annotate, because I'm a very simple person when it comes to annotation. I start off when I read through a book, I will go through with a pencil and I just underline certain phrases. And then when I finish the book, once I've gone through, I've penciled every line that I care about, I dog-ear certain pages that I care about, I will go back and highlight and use a pen for things that upon second thinking jump out to me. So there's always like 2 times that I'm going through everything. Sometimes I just have a pen, but if it's like just pencil, that's something that maybe stood out to me. But upon finishing the book is when I'm really able to get down to what scenes matter on the whole. And then that's when I highlight. If it's got things like this, big deal, big moment, big whoop, big deals, big stuff. If it's highlighted and underlined, that means it really jumped out to me personally. But otherwise, it just comes down to what I think is interesting or something worded in a way that I think is interesting. And then I always happen to, I'll dog ear and add a little star to the scenes that are really big at the end. So I do dog ear my pages, but like you can see that I'm going back and it's really easy for me to find those scenes that meant a lot or those scenes that jumped out. And you can tell I'm like adding squiggly lines. It's just, I'm not the kind of person that like color codes. I just want to make sure that I capture the thoughts that I have. So that's how a book gets annotated. The way that comes down into this is I have all of my book thoughts here. When I organize a video, I just need to know what pages go with what. So like I have here class and privilege, page 53. So on page 53, I highlighted something. So it's really easy for me to just go back, class and privilege, page 53. Or I wanted to discuss identity on some pages and I marked page 13. I had a moment for identity, and I can tell you now that when I actually did the video, 13 didn't get referenced. Instead, I did page 73 was what I referenced in my video. There's no markings on this. This is one of those moments where I just had to go back upon second reading, and I know that there was a moment that was important. But I used this page for my video, but it, for me in my reading experience, didn't matter, if that makes sense. I knew it had a lot to do with the point. That doesn't mean I highlighted it for myself. But that's the chaos of what it is when it comes to me just annotating, feeling through a book, getting out what's going on. Now, the sticky notes that I throw on top of everything are just to highlight certain moments, because when I actually do a lot of my commentary and long thought videos, I miss things. I often just kind of get into the flow, really start talking, and I'll miss a point, but these sticky notes are like points that I absolutely cannot miss. Again, my feelings on the side, I put like synopses on the right. Then one thing that I have to do, one thing that I find is most important for my videos is the order. I actually struggle with that the most, and that is probably the hardest part of putting together a lot of my videos, is the order in which I want to talk about things, because I need the conversation around it to flow in a logical way. So a lot of the times I have to specifically sit down and write out the order. On this video, my trends in the book community video, I actually only wrote the order. That's because a lot of that one wasn't so much research as it was my own feelings. But again, I needed to know what order to talk about things so that the conversation flowed. Now, my Murakami video, I have another book. The thing that's interesting about seeing this book versus this is I had less highlighted in this book. As you can see, compared to other books that I'm going to show you, I just had so much less thoughts. But I started off thinking I had thoughts. And then by the end, there was nothing that I cared about. So annotating this and then creating a video out of this was so much more difficult. And you can tell because, again, the right side is usually what I've researched, what I found, what is sourced, or what I've taken from the book itself. The left are my thoughts and feelings. And with Murakami, I just didn't have many personal thoughts when it came to this video. I just truly did not. And then I just had my final. So that's what Murakami looked like on the back end. Again, not many sticky notes because there were not many things that I were like, oh, I need to talk about this. A lot of it, truthfully, was just the research that I had done, was what was pertinent. Personal feelings I didn't have too much of with him. On this commentary video, The Disappearance of Art, you can see that I have way more thoughts, way more feelings. Sticky notes are jumping out. This was one that was a lot of fun to do. And again, with order, I think I had a sticky note for the order that I wanted to go through in this, and I've lost the sticky note. But this one was a big one with understanding what order I wanted to go in, how I wanted to go about history, how I wanted to work through that. And then the last video that I actually have notes on was my Bluest Eye video. And this one, I had finished the book literally the day before I filmed the video. So I didn't have that many personal thoughts written in, but that's because the book itself held so much of what I was thinking. I didn't need to write in my in here as much because I really put in my feelings as I was working through this book. But as you can tell, I obviously felt something because I busted out the tabs on this one, which is something I didn't do for Norwegian Wood and Normal People. I just didn't really care about the books in that way. But when I care about a book, it's when I pull out tabs. I'm putting stars in, and I'll tab sections and put a star next to it because that whole section felt like a big deal to me. Or I'm just writing stuff in it. I have so many points in this where I started off and I'm just feeling so many things. So with this one, I really just marked out what chapter and then what generally happens in each chapter that I need to remember, and exactly what themes I wanted to talk about. And then from there, for the video, it was easy enough to just flip and know what sections I wanted to read, what sections I wanted to talk about. And then, of course, I dog-eared some of the bigger moments. I'm gonna write in my books. It's gonna happen. But you can tell what things like stood out to me the most, but it's really obvious through how I annotate what books are really singing to me and what books I'm enjoying versus what books I'm not actually enjoying. And it's hard to talk about my note-taking system and how I come up with videos if you don't see how I interact. I have one more book that I brought out for you to see what that looks like for me. That's Geek Love. You know I had so many thoughts on this book. This one I had so many thoughts on, so many tabs. That's why I'm so stuck on like, how did I feel about this book? When I actually, it's embarrassing to see, but my mild liner, my highlighter actually died. Like it was dying through these last pages and I could barely highlight what I needed to highlight. But this was one of those books where I, again, had a lot to say, had a lot that I was highlighting. Sometimes I'll just put a line, a little note. Whole pages were highlighted on this one. I had so many thoughts. When I write in a book, it's because I'm working through thoughts. I want those thoughts there immediately. But when I want to, it's when I have a book that looks like this, where I'm like, do you guys want a video on it? I never know until I've finished a book where I know I want to make a video out of something like this. But then when it comes to how I formulate an idea and what I'm working through, a lot of things start in my scratch paper. And then I look back for what's repeated or what I'm interested in. Can you read my brainstorming? I mean, it's no secret. Like, we never know if I'm going to get to it. Yes, I know you see Otessa Moshfake on there. I know you see her. Spoilers. It'll happen one day. I don't know how soon. Okay? All right. Spoilers. But there's a lot of things, because like I said, I'm a very article-driven person. I read so many articles. So a lot of my video ideas will be like a slight comment that I read in an article. Like the video that I'm working on now that's only made it to the like scratch paper phase. I read this article about how the food critic is becoming obsolete in salaried spaces and how the food critic is now a job understood as being within TikTok. It's a social media job, not a salaried newspaper job, and what that means for media and what we're reading and what we're intaking and how we go about criticism. Seeing that just had my mind absolutely whirring. So then I ran to my scratch paper, and once I get those initial thoughts and those initial feelings down, then one day I'll sit down and I'll actually do the research behind it. I'll probably just look into criticisms in all realms. What does it mean for all sources of media? What does media look like? How has media changed? Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm interested in, books and media. So I see something that interests me, and then I find a way to relate it to the literary world. But that's my little note-taking journal. That's all my journals, really. I hope this more detailed flip through was everything you hoped it could have been and more. I'm sorry if some of this felt repetitive to like my other system updates and flip throughs. The changes, like my planner, my daily journal, the little bits in my daily journal, my changes are so microscopic that I felt like I would just give you a fully fleshed out what's happening. And then, I don't know, like, I tell you every time, like, this is perfect, this feels so good. So I'm gonna say it again, like, this is perfect, and I don't see any changes coming anytime soon. But that is my entire journal system. I love talking journals. If you want to just get into the comment section and tell me all about your current journals, anything you're interested in, what you're doing, please talk to me about journals. It's something, it's like one of those hobbies that I have that truly takes up so much of my mind. And if you want to talk about it, please get into the comments and rant and ramble about yours. I wish there was a way that you could show me pictures of yours. I don't know, we'll figure that out some other time. But that's my system. That's what's happening. That's what's going on. I guess that's my quarterly update, right? Like, it's been a quarter in my books. It's feeling good. I'm having fun. And I guess on that note, I'll just say, like, I'll see you next week for book content. We'll actually get some reading done because I have been consuming nothing but Love Island UK for the past week, and my brain cannot keep intaking that. Like, I need something else. I'm having a good time. I am having a good time. It needs to stop though. I'll see you next week.